Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach, and today we have with us Eric Kapitulik, who is the founder of the program. Welcome to the program, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. And so I want to get a little bit about your background and talk about your new book coming out, but just give us a little bit of a 30,000-foot overview of you, yourself, what led you to this point in your life and career, and what is the program?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Eric, as you said, I'm Eric Kapitulik. I was born and raised in a very small town in northeastern Connecticut called North Grosvenordale, where now I currently live with my family. But I was fortunate enough to get recruited to play college lacrosse and had the opportunity to do so at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. After graduating, I had one of the great privileges of my life, other than being a dad and a husband, of being a United States Marine Corps officer. And I served for 8 years in the Marines as an infantry officer and then in Marine Corps Special Operations. After 8 years on active duty, I left it, attended the University of Chicago Graduate School of Business, and after 2 years in finance, went out on my own and founded the program.
Well, I love the kind of examples or statistics that you hear that when you see top-level CEOs so many times, not every time, but so many times, there is a strong military background. And I know we could talk for hours on why that is, but I'm confident that it's the leadership, the structure, the can-do attitude, and all of that. But all of those things that you're using in the program, how are you applying that to work with teams and building their leaders?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first, I think it's interesting because I do hear that a lot about so many CEOs having a former military background, but I don't know if that's a causal or the effect of it, right?
Yeah.
In that I think the military draws a certain type of individual to it, and then it gives that type of individual an opportunity to show who they are. Most importantly, to themselves.
Yeah.
And I can say at least that was the case with me. Did the military or the Marine Corps change me? Oh, I'm sure it did. We are all a sum of our experiences. But probably the greatest experience that we have, and it's the reason why I'm discussing it now, because I'll discuss it in the book. Probably the greatest experience we have is who we just are dumb luck enough to be born to, our parents.
Yeah, and as I was saying the point about the CEOs and things like that, as you were giving your answer, I thought of something else. I want to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
For every kind of fact or cliche one way, there's the antithesis or the contrarian view the other way. And what I mean by that is one of my clients is ex-military and works with veterans coming out of the military, transitioning into civilian life because there's a massive amount of military personnel that come out and can't transition, and they don't get anything going on, and they're almost on skid row in the sense. So now the juxtaposition is that compared to the high achievers because of their military experience. So it's not some given, go to the military and now you're a CEO. You have to make the decision yourself based on your drive.
Mike, I think there's very few. There are definitely some bad decisions that we can make in life, and God knows I've made them. But for the most part, I'll just speak for myself as far as the military was concerned, because the Marine Corps had a huge impact on my life, a huge impact. As I said, other than being husband and hearing dad or daddy from my very young kids, Marine is the title I'm most proud of. So I mean, obviously it had a huge impact and a positive one at that. But as I decided after 8 years on active duty to transition, if I hadn't made that decision, if I had stayed in the Marine Corps after 34 years being there, I would have thought, man, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And the reason why is that I think for most of us in life, there's a bunch of just decisions, not good and bad decisions, just decisions that we have to make, and then we have to go and make them the right decision. Some people do, some people don't, right?
Yeah. And you gave emphasis on the word make, because that really is the case. It's not just like it gets handed to you. You have to make it. And we have to make the decision every day. Is today going to be a good day? Or are we going to react to something or respond to something? I mean, we can just totally go down that path as well. But let's transition into your book.
Yeah, let's talk about the book, which is what I want to do. But yeah, I just get so excited talking about all of these things we discuss in the book, though.
Yeah. So let's roll it into, at some point, you didn't have a book. You weren't starting on working on a book. And what made you think, you know what, I need to get all this stuff down into a book, and then what now is the focus of your book?
Yeah, thank you. So 10 years ago, I founded the program, and let me, being, I know, directed toward entrepreneurs here, let me highlight to your audience that I take great pride in being the founder of the program, and it's when I use, and the only time I use the pronoun I. I founded it, and I am very proud of that. I will also be the first guy to tell you that I would be out of business if it weren't for the we. We have made it, the program, our company, what it is. The program is a team building and leadership development company. We have been working with college and professional athletic teams and major corporations for a decade. In year one, I worked with 3 men's college lacrosse teams. I just called coaches I played for, against, with. Now, we annually work with more than 160 college and professional athletic teams and major corporations. The genesis of the book has been that decade and more of work with so many of those teams that we've had the privilege to interact.
Yeah.
Over that time, my own thoughts about leadership, the importance of teammateship, understanding, gaining a greater understanding of truly what is culture. How do we define it? What makes a culture strong or not? How do we develop ourselves to be the best team leaders and the best teammates on all the teams that we're on? All of those things are things that, yes, I've thought about them my entire life, and doing the things I've done throughout my entire life, to include the Marines. But for a decade now, my teammates and I at the program, it's all we do.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is what we do. We develop better leaders and create more cohesive teams. And over that time, just with our clients constantly asking about, do you guys have a book? Me speaking at various organizations, events. Do you have a book? Do you have a book? And then I'll tell you, a big part of why we decided to, I think the greatest thing that has really lit a fire underneath me to write the book, along with one of my teammates, Jake McDonald, is, quite frankly, we got tired of people stealing our stuff. Social media now, everything that you do and say is kind of out there, and people just have been stealing our stuff and never giving us any credit for it. And we put an incredible amount of time and effort and money into developing the program and who we are and what we believe. And rather than just have it get stolen, we prefer to get it out there and publish it and make sure that there's a return on all that investment of 10 years.
So let's talk a little bit about core values and standards. I think that sounds like a buzzword and cliche, and you have to have it. So what do you say to a client when you're starting to work with them and teaching them the importance of what that is?
Yeah, so first, great question. So first and foremost, Mike, we always, if I'm speaking with a group or we're working with our clients, and especially in corporate America, and we ask them, how many people here have heard the term kids these days?
Yeah.
Right? And everybody, yeah, that's the exact reaction we get, right? Oh, boy, yeah, right? Everybody raises their hands, starts shaking their heads. And I highlight, I quickly point out to them, let me tell you a reason why you're never going to hear me or any of my teammates at the program ever use that term. And I share with them a story from Corey Ross, the president of the program. And it's this story that we highlight in our section of the program's book on culture. We highlight this story. But very briefly, Corey and his team, then at the time Captain Corey Ross, United States Marine Corps, he and his Army Special Forces team that he was assigned to was caught in an enemy ambush in eastern Afghanistan. His vehicle that he was in took a direct hit with an RPG. Everybody sustained massive injuries and was knocked unconscious, except the driver. The driver sustained massive injuries, which are highlighted in the book, but he wasn't knocked unconscious. But that driver, rather than tending to his own injuries, kept driving his Humvee and fighting the enemy, and in the process saved everybody on that vehicle's life. Well, that driver was 19 years old.
Wow.
So you're not going to hear myself or anybody at the program talk about kids these days, and that's just one reason why. And if the kids these days, though, are, if we're going to assign any sort of negative attributes to the kids these days, let's first remember that it's our job to raise them.
Yeah.
And we're doing a poor job of it. If we are going to assign negative attributes to the younger generation, which I think are overblown anyway. But specifically, though, getting back to your question, where have not the kids these days, but where are we failing as parents, coaches, teachers, and business leaders? Very, very simply, we have a lack of core values and a lack of standards that reinforce those core values. In most families, in most athletic teams, in schools, in businesses, everybody has goals. And in fact, we give our team and teammates lots of goals. But we fail to remember that goals are not standards. Goals are performance-based. They reinforce what we want to achieve. Standards are behavior-based. Standards reinforce how we are expected to behave while accomplishing those goals. We give lots of goals and never any standards. If you fail to reach a goal, reattack it tomorrow. Failure to reach a standard carries a consequence.
Yeah, doesn't that tie to character?
It is character. It is our character.
Right.
Look today. I mean, I was working with a major college basketball team yesterday. We were having a discussion about this, and I was saying, getting to character, I was saying it is in discussing them about being great team leaders and great teammates to all the teams that they're on. And I was saying that the fact that we have to have a hashtag Me Too movement, hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Blue Lives Matter. I'm not saying we shouldn't have those things. No, I'm saying what's disheartening to me is that there's a need for those things in America.
Yeah.
If we all had greater character, if we all had stronger core values, if we just treated each other, ourselves, and others with more respect, there would not be a need for those things.
Yeah.
Where does it start? It starts in homes. As parents, as us, we're the most important team leaders and teammates on any team that there is. And what can we do? We can have core values for our family. Goals, yes, but I don't need to tell any parent that their children needs to have goals in life. Yeah, we got that. No, but more importantly, they need to have standards. This is how we're expected to behave. And if you don't, then there is a consequence. We generally live in a society now, and there are very public examples of a lack of consequences.
Yeah.
We got to be better than that as leaders.
Yeah,
we have to provide culture. And what is our culture? Our culture is our core values, and those core values are reinforced by what our goals are, but most importantly, by what our standards are. We need both.
I've said this so many times, and I think you'll agree 1,000%. This is not just an exercise that you tick the box and go, cool, my core value is this, my foundation is that, my character will be, and I will do this. Here's my goal, done. It's kind of like a business plan or a marketing plan. Boy, it's a lot of work. But the problem is too many people just go, it was finished and check the box and it's up on the digital shelf or it's on printed for our team to see whenever, but they never review it. They never hold themselves or their teams accountable. It just became something that was the buzzword of the day that, we need to do this assessment thing, and now let's get back to work. But I was listening to a podcast recently, this past week really, where the person said, we take our, whatever they were calling it, like their credo or their vision and mission, and our entire team starts every single morning in the conference room, and we recite this, and then we get to work.
That's awesome.
What do you say about when people say, yeah, we need these values and goals and mission, all of these things, but how do you encourage your clients to make that part of their ethos and really follow it and implement it?
For your audience in particular, as entrepreneurs, I think that we all spend so much time concerned about what we're doing, what we're achieving. And let me be clear, my dad was a policeman, my mom's a school teacher. When I started the program, I had been a Marine, and then I went to Chicago Business School and then started my own business. What was the business plan? Make money, because without it, I didn't eat. So yes, I get it. Entrepreneurs need to be very focused on selling, on revenue. Without it, we don't eat. So I understand that. The long-term success of any organization, whether that be an entrepreneur with their company, your parents, coaches, any organization, ultimately, it is the strength of our culture that will end up carrying the day. Because we are all going to have adversity in our lives. When that adversity strikes, the stronger the culture we have, the greater the opportunity for mission success despite the adversity. How do we create it? The creation of what are our core values, what are our standards to reinforce those core values, that process is generally straightforward. We describe it in our book in a couple of pages. What takes up much greater time is, how do you stay committed to it?
Yeah.
Creating the championship culture is I believe oftentimes is less challenging than sustaining it.
Yep.
Quite frankly, if I may, I think a very simple for your listeners here. There's countless things that we talk about in the book, but let me just discuss one of them as to how can we make sure that our culture is not just a nice sign in our lobby, as an example. How can we make sure that that's not the case? First of all, understand that what you recognize is what's important to you. Mm-hmm. For any team that you're on. I give the example that my son is 7. I've got a 2.5-year-old daughter, but my son is 7, so he's playing youth sports now. He comes off the ice at hockey. Parents running over to their kids. oh my God, that was such a nice goal that you had today. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was an awesome goal. Okay. And the soccer and the football. Oh my God, that was such a sick move you put on that guy for the touchdown. Okay, so what do you think your children are going to say? Oh, this is what my parents value. Yeah, scoring goals or touchdowns. That's what you're reinforcing. We do the same thing in business. Oh my God, that was such a, in schools. Oh my God, congratulations on the A. That is amazing that you got an A. In business, it then manifests itself in business of sell, you make your revenue number, this is what you get for it. None of those things, by the way, do I say is bad. I'm not saying not to do that. No, because performance matters.
Yep.
What I'm saying is as a parent, when your child comes off the ice, instead talk about, oh my God, you were so selfless. When your coach pulled you off the ice and sat you down and gave the other kid, I loved how you cheered for the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Hey, you were so tough out there. You know what? Nobody understands that John got the goal because you fought for the puck in the corner and got the puck out.
Yep.
And man, I'm so proud of how tough you were. You got beaten 5 times in a row and you kept getting up. Talking about recognizing our corporate teammates for the things that nobody ever recognizes.
Yeah.
Saying, I want to recognize so-and-so for being, if your culture, if your core value, one of your core values for your culture is selfless, I want to recognize so-and-so. She was done with her job and she spent the entire weekend helping out this team that's not her own, getting this marketing plan done. Okay. Then just recognize when people not only achieve goals, take every opportunity you can to recognize when people achieve standards, achieve your core values.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to pointing out the negatives, because we can find those so easily, either in the sports or the corporate world. You can say, how come you didn't meet that objective, or how come this, deadline was not met? But that becomes something that they know they didn't hit that or meet that. But when you're drawing them towards something good, they then want to please that boss or that person giving that observation. They want to do that activity again and again. Well, if you're praising standards and values and vision and mission, and then the other things are going to fall into place. Is that what you find as well?
100%, Mike. That idea of how much do you praise versus how much do you, how often do you point out what's not happening compared to how much do you recognize what is occurring, right? Yeah. Boy, that's a tough one, right? That's the art of our jobs, not the science of them, right? But ultimately, to your point, do both. Do both. The thing that we have to remind ourselves, me more than anybody, is yes, when people aren't meeting the standards, we're going to hold people accountable for it. What we have to remind ourselves is, but most people are meeting the standards every single day. We have to remember to recognize people for it when they're doing it. To your point, it's as impactful, if not more impactful, when we do that than when we point out when it's not occurring.
And don't dare let yourself not address when the standards aren't met, because a lot of times it's like, well, we don't want to mess up the vibe of the team, and well, we don't want to make them. No, if it's not met, it's not met, but you do it in love, and then you praise the good things that they are doing, today, tomorrow, and the next day.
That's right.
Well,
agreed.
I think those are some really good nuggets. And one thing that I love that you mentioned a couple times about your book is it's not just the strategies and the you ought to do this. You integrate in so many times the how do you do it, the how do you stay on track, and how do you make sure these results are going to get done. So I love that this is the focus of your book or an element of your book. So let's just wrap up with now, Eric, what is the best way that people can either reach out to you personally, your company, and also pick up a copy of your book?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll make it very simple for you because all of those things can happen at theprogram.org. If people go to our website, they'll see a tab, a very prominent tab for the book. And from there, you can order the book. And it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble as well. You could go to their websites and type in the program or type in my name, and it'll come up there. By the same token, if you go to theprogram.org and click on the link, it brings you right to it.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, Eric, thank you so much for your time. It was really great learning from you and just having your perspectives, and I encourage everyone to go pick up a copy of your book. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it from all of my teammates at the program. Thank you.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.